A man wearing oversized prosthetic breasts and a wig. A woman who disclaims any gender and makes children pledge allegiance to a trans pride flag. Another man who thinks that he's a woman forces kids to use his preferred pronouns. A member of Antifa who works to take kids and turn them into revolutionaries. Flamboyant makeup, cross-dressing, multicolored hair, anxiety and anger and confusion. Classrooms plastered with BLM and sexually related paraphernalia. Every day, more and more American school teachers are being exposed for their radical and disturbing behaviors. It goes beyond woke, folks. It's destructive, and it's time that states step up. It's time that states establish mental health, character, and fitness standards for those charged with educating America's next generation. We cannot expect to sustain the intellect and the emotional growth of our young people when our kids are exposed to mentally unstable teachers. In 2020, a federal appeals court upheld that a school district may compel a teacher who is exhibiting signs of mental illness to be removed from the classroom and evaluated. Now, this could open the door for broader policies to ensure that our kids are not placed under the control or influence of those with serious mental health issues or exhibiting behavior that cuts against the learning environment. Many government and private sector workers must submit to psychological evaluations before being hired. Many are monitored to ensure that their mental health is not compromised in a way that would hinder their ability to perform their jobs or endanger others. Law enforcement officers, members of the military, nuclear engineers, airline pilots, lawyers, even some doctors and other professions subject their members to some measure of mental health or character examinations. Ridiculously, it is not common practice for those who have access to our kids for hours at a time, hours every day, and have the responsibility for their education to be screened for behaviors that could do damage to young people. Do you know if the guy teaching your daughter history is a socialist or a leftist? Do you know if your son's health teacher thinks that kids should be able to surgically alter their bodies? Just as media outlets have become activist organizations pushing the left's agenda, so too the teaching profession has co-opted education to pursue indoctrination. States need to set standards of behavior to prevent those with radical agendas and ideologies from access to our children as well. Socialists, communists, Marxists, racists, members of extremist groups should be identified prior to their employment. Teacher behavior should be evaluated on a continual basis after hiring. Radicalism, intolerance, and a lack of intellectual diversity have long been symptoms of higher education in this country, but now that behavior is infecting elementary and secondary schools. This week, the Virginia House passed SAGE's Law, a bill that requires school employees to notify parents if a student is self-identifying as a gender different from the student's biological sex. It also clarifies that treating children based on their sex at birth does not constitute abuse or neglect. All 48 Democrats voted against it. The whole notion that this needs to happen or that principals need to be mandated to disclose National Merit Scholarship Awards to recipients is more proof that we have left normal for crazy. The steps in Virginia should only be the beginning. Of course, the power of the teachers' unions in states like New York and California will never allow reforms to prevent children from being exposed to the mentally ill. They are too wedded to their leftist cultural and political agenda that has been rapidly adopted by the education establishment over the last several years. But states that take action to prevent ill, unstable, or radical activists from hijacking education will benefit. They will become a haven for those looking for traditional education and higher standards. Economic migration is increasingly common in this country as millions flee the dysfunction, the waste, and the high cost of blue states. Americans will escape the educational race to the bottom next. These standard states will help create stronger academic outcomes that produce a more productive, thriving economy with much lower dependency. You know, it has been said very rightly that a teacher impacts eternity because they can never know where their impact ends. And that is precisely the reason that the integrity of the classroom and those who are charged with leading it require much greater scrutiny. Those who are so emotionally hobbled with their own mental illness or prioritize their radical political agenda can cause long-term damage to those impressionable young people in their care. The NEA and the UFT, they may not care, but you know what? Most children are uncomfortable discussing sex and body parts and gender transitions and pronouns and critical race theory, racism, or other leftist agenda items. They're also uncomfortable speaking out against those topics for fear of reprisals from teachers and administrators, and their fear is well-founded. We must be their voice. I know there are those who still refuse to believe that this extremism has actually infected our schools, but now is the time to take action to protect our children. States, they need to step up now.